we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. This is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Yeah, I just did 2 hours in Baltimore. I did an 8 and a 10 o'clock at a club called the Lou Room in Baltimore. It's the Lou Costello Room at Zissimo's Bar. And those are my second and third hours on the road. So I'm very fresh and new to headlining on the road. And I did my first hour back in New Hampshire in February. I was in Portsmouth and hour number 1 on the book. So now I'm 3 deep and starting to really enjoy comedy on a new level. Now it's starting to get fun.
on the road opposed to locally based, right?
Yeah. So what I've come to learn, the way comedy works, especially like if you live in a city like LA, you're only going to get so much stage time locally. This is what you would call kind of like a showcase town. So that means most shows, even if you go to the Improv, you go to the Comedy Store, it'll be maybe 10 comics and they each do 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So nobody's going to be doing an hour. Most people will not be doing an hour. Not on a Friday or Saturday night at the the Improv, Comedy Store, or the Laugh Factory. So what I'm saying is that in order to get those longer sets, to really stretch out, have some fun, headline, and do quote unquote an hour, 50, 55 minutes, then you got to hit the road. You got to get out of town and wherever that may be.
How did it feel bringing it back home to Portsmouth, New Hampshire? I mean, I know there's definitely some good comedy clubs up there. I haven't been back home in so long. I'm sure the scene has changed since I was up there, but how was it playing Portsmouth?
Man, it's a funny story. It was bittersweet, actually. So check this out. So I have an agent, kind of a starter agent, if you will, whatever. That's fine. I didn't realize I was even on the radar, but they hit me up and they said, "Hey, we got an hour headline spot for you in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. What do you think of that?" I said, "Do you realize I'm from Portsmouth, New Hampshire? Like, that sounds amazing. Of course, I'd love to do my first hour on the road in my hometown." They said, "Great." It was a place, I don't know, just to be decent, we won't say the name. But anyway, it was a nice venue. They have a nice setup. They got full audio and a stage and lights and fantastic. I was like, this is cool. They've been renovated in the last 10 years, so it'll be an awesome venue. And we had a nice contract drawn up. Everything's looking good. I buy my ticket and then I promote the show. And once I promoted the show and tagged them and they liked it, everything's cool. And then shortly after, my agent got a message. "Yeah, sorry, we actually didn't realize we double booked that night. Can't have you." What? What are you talking about? We have a contract. Like, there's no way you double book. That's not possible. And I realized what I believe happened was I got canceled in my own hometown. I think what happened, the town where I'm from, Portsmouth, there are some really cool people. There's some awesome people, some salt of the earth, gritty New Englanders, some of the best. And then there are just some Sallies, man. There's just some softies, it snows and we have snowflakes and they don't always go away when the weather gets warmer. And some of these people, I think somebody saw the social media post, called up or DM'd, whatever, and said, "You can't have Paul Roseberry at your place. Do you know what he says?"
But you got haters back home then? Like what were some of the things that you feel may have been controversial? Like what?
I'm really not sure, man. I honestly, because I actually decided to open up everything. We'll get to how I saved the show at another venue. But when I ended up having the show, I opened up by telling the story. I get canceled because I had to rally the whole town on Facebook to help me find a new venue. I said, "Hey guys, unfortunately the show's been canceled." I didn't say why. I just said I would love, we have so many people who've already DM'd and reached out and are excited to see the show. Can anyone refer me to somebody who has a venue and let's try to keep the show going. And so I had a lot of support. And then when I started the show, I said, let's address, this isn't the venue we were originally going to have it. I got canceled. And I said, I don't think I'm that bad of a guy, to be honest with you. I said, do you guys, how about we do this? Why don't I do everything I can think of that would have gotten me canceled tonight.
Okay.
And you guys tell me if I'm the kind of jerk who shouldn't be allowed downtown. And that was exactly what I did. I did everything I could think of to. There was actually some I left out just because we ran out of time. But
Yeah.
there's nothing cancelable here. It's what I like to do. I think it was like you ever seen those safaris, on TV? You could really go. I've never been on. Like in Africa, they have the safaris where you're like on that Land Rover and there's no windows. It's wide open. And like the tigers are like 4 feet from the truck, and you're like, holy shit, that looks absolutely terrifying. There's one guy with a rifle in the back in case it gets real weird. But the whole idea is you're supposed to get scared shitless, but you're going to combat. Everything will be fine. You know what I mean? Like you will get scared. You will be fine. And then you'll say, that was the most exciting thing I've done in a while. That's my show. That's what I do. It'll be scary for a moment. You'll say, why is this white guy wading in these waters? Why is he neck deep in these waters? Why do we follow him? And then just as you get scared, then you realize, you got to be kidding me. He did it. No one got hurt. no feelings were hurt. I'm not going to sit here and do Spirit Airlines jokes for an hour. Come on.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? Oh,
Yeah.
Can you believe traffic?
I mean, who wants to eat low hanging fruit all the time? Sometimes you got to reach up to the higher branches. I mean,
yeah, it's. I guess it's disappointing knowing back home because back in New England we're all such characters and everyone's always busting each other's balls and like Bill Burr and those guys. Some of the greats have come out of that part of the country, and so to cancel comedy up there is just kind of disappointing for me to hear.
Yeah, and the whole thing though, like it being your first time. And you encountering those type of challenges, that's life just telling you that you're on the right path, man. Because you still went out there, you still put on a show, and so kudos on that part. That's an interesting journey, definitely. I've never done live comedy, but show business ain't easy business. And like right before we got started, I was like, hey man, if you're in show business, if you're a creator, you got to come up with creative solutions, and that's how you did that.
Dude, you know what? I appreciate it. Thank you. Because yes, and you guys are in production. You guys are in creative. You create episodes. You take people on adventures every day. You get it. When I finally got a venue, I was like, okay, great. Now I'm picturing in my head this venue, which is the only one who said yes. And I said, the show is on. And then I picture basically any comedy club you've ever been in, any perfect environment. That's what I imagine in my head because I'm excited. I'm forgetting to ask so many questions. Dude, the plane lands at Logan. And you know how your phone, when you get back into service, like a bunch of texts might pop in, anything you miss, it all just kind of blurbs at once. First text I see is the venue saying, hey, Paul, excited about the show. Just making sure you have all of your own audio, speaker, and microphone and everything because we have none of that here. I'm like, what? You don't have anything? Like, I just came in on a flight. You think I brought a amp? You think I brought a mic stand? Like, well, oh, Jesus. I thought when they said a separate room, because it was a bar and then a separate room, I'm picturing that the separate room is wired up because they usually have music and playing in there. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll figure it out. I was like, guessing you don't have like a stage either then, do you? And he's like, well, I think I have a milk crate I can find for you if you want it. Ha ha. Dude, I have nothing. I'm showing up. I thought the day was safe. I got absolutely nothing. Now, fortunately, I had 2 local openers who were going to kick the show off for me, do 10 minutes each. New Hampshire guys, great guys. Hadn't met them, but they were cool. And so I reached out to one of them. I said, hey, dude, do you happen to have, I don't know, a friggin' karaoke mic? You got anything we can do this with? And he said he knew a guy who had a pretty good setup, but he'd want to host. I said, done. He's the host. Absolutely. No problem. And
you can host it.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, of course. I don't care. You're saving the show for like the
takes the work off you a little bit. You look a little bit more professional. Like, yeah, I got a host. I got somebody introducing me.
Hell yeah. So it ended up being, it was still all uphill because when I got to see the venue, there was a bar within that room, and not everybody who was in the bar was there for my show. I'm still kind of competing with people who were just there to hang out. They got about 12 TVs. I got them to shut off 9 of them. There's still sports playing in the back. and I was eye level with everybody, so you can only see the first layer of people. You can't really see all your friends in the back. And it was uphill. It was a real challenge. All the lights were on. The ceilings were 30 feet high. I mean, it was very challenging. But you know what? Like you said, this is how you burn those chops. This is how you know what I mean? It's not going to be, if it's handed to you, it's kind of too easy. You know, you might not build some muscle. So
I couldn't agree more, man. When we just hit, so we did episode 200 a couple weeks ago, I guess a couple months ago
congrats.
at this point. Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We did our first ever live podcast, man. And it was quite an experience for the folks that were there and everything. Cause we had a similar, but different deal. Like we had to bring all of our audio equipment, all of our stuff. Like they provided a stage. There was a great bar. It was a great venue. We love you, X Denver, for hosting us. But man, there was a lot of uphill challenges for that first live performance. You know, taking podcasting in front of people is kind of becoming where it's going, I guess. That's where this business is evolving to. But man, it was a total challenge. Like you said, kind of uphill, just like so many creative ideas that we had to come up with to get through that event, you know, and relying on people like to, come in to engineer.
It wasn't just a podcast we were doing. We were also hosting Loco Plus's creator showcase event. So there was like 11 creators. So Loco Plus is a company that we work with. They're mainly in Atlanta and Denver right now, and they're branching out. They're like a YouTube. So if you want to check out Loco Plus, you could upload all your stuff there at no charge. Yeah. So they're really cool. We know the creators of that, and they also host live events. And so we had like all these musicians, food critics, mayoral candidates. So all these different creators and people that we were introducing, and then also doing a quick like 10-minute interview with for the podcast. So not only was it our first live podcast, but we were also the MCs of this entire event, hosting it. And then we also had to interview like 11 different people and go with the flow when things wouldn't work and reschedule people. And it was crazy.
It was a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, I mean, you start to go live, you get in front of people. I mean, obviously, Paul, you've been, doing stand up for a long time. So you know what it's like to be in front of people and having audio equipment and things like that. Like there's always going to be an obstacle in the way, I feel like, in any sort of live entertainment.
Yeah.
Did you guys say you had mayoral candidates?
We did. Yeah. For Denver.
As part of your live pod?
Yep.
I got to go back and watch that. So that's wild. That's a pretty solid.
It was a big level 200, man. We were like, all right, episode 200, like we're full sending on this one, and it was fun because then we took all the footage and stuff and edited it down and turned it into like a 2-hour long podcast. It was like a 4-hour long event. And we just kind of chopped all the little events where we were interviewing
the intermissions.
Yeah, it was a really fun time though. It was good.
But I mean, I guess piggybacking off of what you had to deal with there in Portsmouth was the challenge of audio equipment. And I mean, the amount of like quick troubleshooting that we had to do, and I'm sure you dealt with some of this, man. It was like failure wasn't an option. Like we need solutions now.
Yeah. Because like the cliche, the show must go on. Like literally, like you have to be able to have the show. That's it.
Yep. Any which way form. Yep.
Absolutely impossible.
So talking about shows, man, you're dropping a new podcast, and forgive me, I'm going off memory here. The best dating relationship advice
best
podcast?
Dating advice ever.
Best dating advice ever. Yeah.
Best dating advice ever. Thanks, Kev. That's exciting.
Right? Thank you. I'm sure we had discussed before that I sometimes have one-on-one clients who I coach with dating. And I love doing it. I really haven't advertised. It's all word of mouth. And as time's gone on, part of the reason I haven't advertised, I haven't really dove fully into the one-on-one is because what I'm looking for is scalability. Like I really want to be able to take the most common frustrations, the most common situations that come up for just about anybody, and be able to find the core root solution, the core root cause and solution to those problems, and be able to distribute it in mass. If I were to fill my week with 30 individual 1-hour people's lives and problems and drama, some people can do that. Some people can do more. I think I would explode. I don't know if I have that bandwidth. but I do love breaking down where people run into roadblocks. And like I said, to find sort of the master key, if you will. I should use that word more often, master key. But like, that's what I want. I want to be able to affect people in mass, because, I just see the same problems all the time.
Yeah.
I focus on guys, and honestly, I think we're getting smoked. I think guys we're getting our butts kicked pretty bad out here.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean,
we can go into the whole thing there.
there's a lot to unpack.
Is this audio and video? Audio and video. That I just have one question. How's the format going to be? And then you go, Kev.
Yep.
So
is your pod going to be audio and video?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know. I thought you guys were checking something. Yes. Like froze for a minute. Yeah. Mine's gonna be audio and video. And
Okay,
I'm kind of ironing out the layout. And it all comes back to those creative solutions, where it started out with me addressing the camera, kind of like Bill Burr does with just his audio, where he answers write-ins. That's like, if I could do that all day and make that my life, I would, as long as half is also comedy, then dude, I'm good for the next 100 years. So that was what I wanted it to be. And I was starting to research online to find relationship questions online, because I don't have enough of a fan base just yet to just be like, hey, throw me questions and I'll get 100 of them. I can get a couple, and a couple are still great. But I started with that. And as I started to shoot more, I said, and my girlfriend, Chelsea, she's fantastic. She sits off to the side. I call her OCC, off camera Chelsea. And she's kind of my spotter. And, we're starting to realize that it's going to get a little repetitive if it's just me spitting doctrine, my theories on how things work in fundamentals, because that's kind of finite. What I need is the different applications. So I will start to reach out and start to ask people to pop on, if you have something you want to talk about, or if you're in the field and you want to, talk shop or whatever. I want to start to get into the guests, because that opens things up, and, it really puts some meat on the bone. But it will be audio and video. And, I want to make a difference, man. I want to do this, I want to kick some ass. I think there's a real challenge in figuring out how much change you can, how much change can you create in someone's life? And even that, I catch myself on the words. How much change can you inspire? Because they have to make the change, of course, for being real technical. But
so you said something, and it kind of sparked Kevin. I saw an energy boost to my right here, and you said guys were getting smoked out there. Kev, what did you have on that?
Well, so first of all, Paul, I'm looking forward to hearing this program that's coming up. I think it's going to be great. I think a lot of guys, we're talking these guys get smoked, dating advice. I think the last time you were on the show, I talked about a man that influenced my life named Coach Corey Wayne, who really kind of changed the game for me and my approach in the world. And I think one of the things I guess I'm curious to see, because I think there's a common denominator here. Like you said, like things could get repetitive. They can kind of be the same things, whatever. But you've done dating coaching for a while now, and I'm sure guys have written in. You've done phone sessions. You've seen probably a common theme here, and I'm kind of curious to what your take is on that. Like, what is the most common thing that you're seeing in the dating market that guys are struggling with live action?
You got to be willing to walk away. You got to have a line in the sand, and you got to be willing to walk away.
My man.
And that's looked like it resonated. That hit.
Yeah, no,
I live it.
That's tough, and that's a tough scenario to be in. And really, what that, to add an extra layer there, is when you are centered and you know what your purpose is on this planet. You're centered in your mission and you're working on accomplishing it. The right people are going to find their way into your life, right? So if anybody is not like, I look at it like I'm going to be pursued because, and I'll pursue back. Don't get me wrong, but a girl's gonna have to pursue me because I'm centered. I know my mission. And if it doesn't align with you, then you got to be able to walk away and mean it. So I do agree with that outlook too.
It's like an old sales tactic, right? The strongest negotiating position is being able to walk away and mean it. So the way I see it and the way I've viewed it, Paul, is basically you've communicated your expectations, right? If you're starting to get jerked around, the girl's like, well, I don't know, and she's getting flaky. Well, it's like, look, I'm gonna take away. This is what my expectations are. I'm romantically interested. If you're not available, call me when you are, and you're able to walk away and never look back.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, that's the underlying thing. And the thing is, the beauty is that you don't have to walk away. You probably won't walk away. What it means is that you can. And as long as you know that you can, then you can stay in the relationship for the right reasons. Guys get into relationships, dude, we see it all the time. Look, you start off, you're like dorky or whatever. You feel like you're not cool. Fine. You get one hot chick. It's kind of like that line. You guys saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Great
movie. You guys remember that way back in the day? Remember there was one line when Ferris is talking about Cameron, and he's talking and he says, he's never had a girlfriend in his life, never been laid in his life. Soon he's going to meet one girl who blows him. And then he's going to do anything she wants for the rest. He's going to be her pet.
Yeah.
Too many guys walk into situations. We see a girl who's hot and we're like, hey, just like a Ferrari would make me look cool to drive around in. If I walk around with her on my arm, I'll look cool. I'm in. This has nothing to do with the girlfriend. It has nothing to do with her. She's literally an inanimate object. She's a function. She's a status. So now, because that status has created your sense of value, you are beholden to maintaining that status. You have to keep that thing going. But the communication will always be off because you're talking to a personal commitment and she's trying to listen as a human being who's actually not being communicated with at all. And once it occurs to her, oh, I know why this is weird. He doesn't even know who I am. Mm-hmm. This guy just keeps me around because he needs me. And if you get in that unfortunate situation where she might also be insecure, AKA human, and she says, well, I wasn't having the best run dating guys before. I don't feel like being single again. And I know I own this guy. I own him.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'll take the safe route too. You know what? I won't go meet a better guy who I have an actual personal connection with. So I'll just hate love this guy maybe for the rest of my life because I don't ever have to worry. He's not going to leave me. He's not going anywhere and I can get anything I want out of him. All right, I'll just kick his ass for a while because I wish that he saw me as a human. I wish he treated me, as, and I wish he didn't need me. And then the real problem comes in where if they know that you need her, then they know that you're weak on your own. And then she starts to call some shots that you're not comfortable with, but you go with. Now she's like, there's no man
running your life.
Yeah, dude.
Now she's taking all the masculine energy and polarity out of the relationship. So one thing that I've learned this information. I'm just sharing information right now, but one great piece of advice, if you're extremely attracted to the girl that you're trying to pursue, is only give her meaningful compliments, like maybe once a night, because you want to stand out from like everybody else that's constantly hitting on her. And, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so gorgeous. She hears that all day long. So if like you can stay away from complimenting her looks, unless if it's like, hey, your hair looks really nice with your dress, like the colors look good together. Like one of those compliments in the evening, that seems to be the money spot. And then even though you are extremely attracted to her, you don't talk about that because that's all she hears. And then that way you start finding the value in who she is as an individual, because honestly, looks only get you so far. I've been in many long-term relationships that didn't work out, and it's because our personalities didn't match. It didn't matter how good she looked,
Well, the most common mistake that I see out in the marketplace, Paul, and I'm sure that you've had some guys come to you with this, is guys like to pedestalize women very easily, right? We kind of just touched on that. They're at their beck and call. So gory, I'll do whatever. And some women will meet that energy. Okay, this guy's nice to me. He'll buy me things. But here's the deal. Eventually, that's going to run out, and there's going to start, like Art just touched on. She's going to start to lose trust in his masculine energy, right? He's just a pushover. He's pedestalizing. These women think they want that. They see that in the rom-coms. They've been propagandized and indoctrinized by all the movies and all the TV shows. But when it happens in live action, ultimately what happens is the sexual polarity is now off. It is now off because we have feminine energy and we have masculine energy not mixing together. And it's just not going to work.
This is how Karens are made. People like to talk shit about women and call them Karens. I don't blame Karens for being Karens. I know that by the time you see a woman who is a quote unquote Karen, get me the manager, the way that day actually started, she woke up next to a guy whose ass she has kicked for so long that she's sick of it. She's kind of maybe subconsciously hoping it'll revive him, a little bit of CPR for his masculinity come back so he can actually be a man in this relationship, but it doesn't. So she's already kicked his ass by 8 a.m. She's up 1-0 on the fighting score. So by the time she gets to Starbucks and that drink is even slightly off, she's ready to kick another ass. And she doesn't need a barista. Dude, that's a small player. That's a warm-up. Get me a manager. I'm ready for level 2. I want the level of the boss. Let's go. And yeah, she comes off wacko. But if she just had a guy in her life to be like, hey, I know a word that'll turn you on like you've never heard. No.
It's so true. It's so true. Disagree with your lady respectfully and
playfully.
Yeah, playfully
and playfully
and yeah,
naturally.
You have fun with it. You flirt with it. But I do want to say this though, just because on DCPC we accept all people. So like if it's in a relationship, I feel like there has to be and I learned this, so it's not like original shit. But there needs to be a masculine and a feminine energy in the relationship to work. And a man could have the feminine energy and the woman could have the masculine energy and like vice versa. Or if you've transitioned, whatever that is.
Trans, homosexual, of course, has to happen.
Yeah. But as long as there is a masculine and then also a feminine energy in the relationship, regardless of how you identify as gender wise, that's going to be successful. So if you have two feminine people, then it's going to be difficult. If you have two masculine people, it's going to be difficult. So you have to like really find somebody that is going to be your yin to your yang. And as a male, I want my girl to be in her feminine energy. So I want her to know that she can trust that I will be centered. I will stay calm in every situation. I always have a plan. I always have a solution for us. Like, you don't got to worry about it. Like I got this. I'm the man in the relationship. I'm kind of traditional with that though.
That's and to go with your qualification there, I generally work in heterosexual relationships. So to get into the variations within, different scenarios is kind of to be translated. Like you said, one, as long as you follow the same model, however it applies, then you'll probably find success as well. I don't want to exclude anybody either, of course. But so generally speaking, from the male female, like you said, that ability to be able to say, hey, I know shit's going down. I've got this. It's going to be fine. We'll be all right. There's something, I think it goes back to cave people. I think it goes back to, if you look at women, when they carry a baby, they're creating life. They're carrying life. It's the most fragile either of them will ever be. That's it. That's enough. That is enough. That is enough of a job for that half of the relationship to carry. You make the baby, and then I'll get the rest. If she feels like, oh, shit, I've got to watch out and figure out how to keep this baby safe and growing right, and I got this wimp. I have to,
and I got to tell him what to do, and I'm his mom. Yeah,
I'm his. You get it, dude. Exactly. Then she's like, now she's playing both male and female, and of course she's gonna be a Karen. She's fried, dude. She's fried. She's exhausted. She's playing two roles as
that
a
poor
single
sweetheart.
person. Dude, that vicious, ferocious, poor sweetheart. It's so that's why I blame guys, and I use the term, sort of tongue-in-cheek blame. I don't really blame, but I'm putting a lot of the spotlight back on guys in exactly the ways that you guys seem to understand with crystal clarity, because if we don't understand our role and we don't and are therefore unable to fulfill it, it will lead to infinite new problems. And you can't really parse out those additional sub problems as a root solution opportunity until you've gotten to the core. And then once the guy gets his stuff together, then you can look at whatever problems may remain and just do some light cleanup. But until, you know what I mean? It's like a car, you've got a blown engine and you're like, well, you know, how's the tire tread? What? Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Can I open up something and hand it off to you, Kev?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's this whole thing because we're talking about, you know, maintaining a certain mentality. And thank you for saying it seems like we have it crystal clear, but I want to have a disclosure here. Like, I failed a lot over the last year and trying to actively work on being a centered masculine man, which is who I want to be and have become. But I failed many times. And, you know, the whole like beta alpha thing. Look, we could all beta bottom. I like to call it a beta bottom, or you're getting your beta baited. Like she's baiting my beta right now. I've beta bottomed multiple times in like the last year and over pursued women and did all the wrong things. Like I've done all that, but I had to fuck up to be able to learn and be like, oh shit, like I see how I chased her away now. So like, we're spitting the game, but like I had to go through the battlefield in order to do that. And so you can be an alpha, but you got to maintain that because you're always going to get your beta baited, and we could all beta bottom at any moment. But then there's the bounce back, baby, and nothing feels as bodacious as that.
as a beta bounce back.
There was a lot of rhyming and jamming there. That was
there's so much to unpack here, Paul. Of course, obviously you can tell we're passionate on this topic, and you're the perfect guest for discussion. Yeah, no, and I'm so stoked to get your opinion on this because I think we're synced out, and you actually coach guys, so you have a leg up on us. But you know, I just kind of want to throw some ideas around and kind of clear up this whole masculine, feminine, alpha, beta, like what that means exactly, because it's easy to say that stuff. So the way I view masculine energy, right, is a guy that's centered, has a mission, drive, purpose, breaks down barriers, you know, doesn't move from his center, has solutions, out there chasing it, right? That's masculine energy. Feminine energy is an individual that is willing to open up to receive love, be nurturing, catering, accepting. But if you don't have those two in that relationship, the sexual polarity is completely off. And, you know, those roles can reverse at any moment. It doesn't just mean you're a man, you have to go kick someone's ass, right? And go beat someone up and be a tough guy and be buff. Like that's not what we're saying here. It comes back more down to the roots, right?
Dude, this is why these conversations are so important. I'm excited to have it with you guys. Because to address, one thing that I do want to address, when you were talking about even in the last year, you've been, you know, had your failures and your wins. Dude, as I'm sure we discussed last time, remember this tattoo? That didn't happen because love was easy from the start. I got my ass kicked so many times. So many. That's why it's still part of the fascinating challenge in coaching to me is how much information can be relayed in the form of coaching to save people heartache and to save people those dark, dark, dark days, which could be years. And
don't we need those days though?
But that's the other side of the coin. How much can we offer? How much time can we save without you having just fallen off the bike, skinning your knees yourself, and just taking the licks? There's a balance. Like, you definitely have to feel it firsthand to know what it's like. But I'd like to see what the natural ability is for us to not rob somebody of experience. Because, you know, like, we're all kind of here to live. You gotta feel it.
And that's the thing too. Like, you can have the best information that's relevant, digestible, and easy to comprehend, but until somebody actually gets out there and fucks around in the scene for a year, then they're never gonna truly know. Like, until you put it to the pavement, like, you're gonna have to learn one way. It doesn't matter. Like, so I agree. Put all the information out there, but like, you got to get reps in.
You got to get the reps, and it's got to hurt bad enough for you to start looking for some advice. You know, that's when the advice will start to click. And, you know, like, I'll never tell somebody who seems to be fine dude, you look like you're getting smoked. You know what I mean? What's the deal? But if I see you struggling, you know what I mean? If I see that look in your eye and I see you, you know, I'll give you some corner ring coaching and be like, hey man, I've been there. You know, if you ever want to talk, leave it about like that, you know, but just, I see that frustrated look on your face. I know what that is. And, you know, if you ever want to grab a coffee, you want to grab a beer or something, because, you know, we all have to learn on our own. If it doesn't hurt, then it's not broke. You won't fix it. But it's when you get into that real trenches and the red light and you want to, you know,
so
right,
top three. So top three, what's your top three most common, because you normally talk to men, right? And so what's your top three most common issues that guys are having in the market when dating women?
So the biggest is, and it's my favorite, they fall all over themselves up front, you know, like they get a girl to start seeing them a little bit. And it's awesome because they're nice guys. And I always kind of preface, I generally only work with nice guys. You know, jerks don't really ask for as much help. They think they've got it figured out. And if it doesn't go well, it's her problem because she's stupid. Okay, good luck. But, you know, so I work with nice guys who, what they'll often do, we've all done it as a nice guy. You meet a girl who's hot, man, she's cool. And you make the mistake of having a really short list of what the perfect girl is. And you just write her in. She's like, oh, check. She's hot and she likes me. This is the perfect girl. And in a few weeks to a couple months, you smother her. You overdo it, you know? Right. And I compare it to chocolate cake. I always say, like, you got to know how to serve cake. You give a girl a slice of chocolate cake and she has a bite, she's going to be, you know, lose her mind. Who doesn't love chocolate? You have another bite. Wow, this is so good. By bite 3, she's like, this was amazing. Whoa, you know, I need some milk. You know, I got to chill out. But if you're not careful, you get so excited that someone likes your cake that you just put the whole cake down on a plate, not a slice, a cake and a fork. And you go, dig in, you know, and if she doesn't eat the whole thing while you're standing there, you start to get offended. And then she's on bite 7 because she's trying to be polite. And then she's like, I don't ever want to eat chocolate cake again. I don't ever, I can go the rest of my life. I never see, and even though it was the best cake, it was so good. Those first 3 bites blew her mind, but you made her eat too much of it. And now she doesn't want to see it. So,
okay, so that's number one.
That's a great analogy. I just want to say, because I picture that whole thing, because I also picture it as like over pursuing, over smothering. It's pedestalizing, if you will. Same thing, different visions. That was a great way to word it. I mean, that's probably, I would agree, one of the biggest common mistakes that men make, because we feel obligated to do something, right? To how's your day going? You're so beautiful, and just over pursuing, and then eventually she's like, oh my God, I've had too much cake.
Yeah, too much cake. And what we did, what our cake was more like cocaine. We used her like cocaine. That first little, you're like, oh shit, wow, fuck, I forgot about all my problems. This is the greatest my day's been all day. This is the greatest my month has been. Have a little more. Next thing you know, the bag's gone. You're like scraping the inside. You're calling late at night trying to get more. And then your dealer's like, dude,
God,
fuck off, dude. Get lost. And you're like, no, that was the best things have been. And now you're on the floor crying 3 a.m. You know, what happened to me? You're on the other side. I don't know if that's too dark for the show. If it is, let me know.
No,
that's awesome.
I mean, just look at our background. It fits in perfect.
That's
yeah. Well, so yeah, it's so we that scenario is a 2-sided major mistake. Okay. Number 2, what is, because it's very linear. When we say mistakes, I think that they're generally in one path, but different examples of the same, or different stages. Is the guy doesn't know his own value. He hasn't decided it. Hasn't taken some time to. The worst thing we ever want to hear when we're trying to deal with a breakup or not, you know, having any luck in the field is just be comfortable being alone. You don't want to be alone. It sucks. You want to get out there and find somebody. Of course you do, and that's reasonable. But you got to be able to be alone. You got to be comfortable knowing that you like. It's not so cheesy, but you like you. That what you bring to the relationship. Because if you feel like this quote unquote hot girl or whatever it is that makes her so cool to you, if you think she brings more to the table than you do, you're going to be running in place the whole time.
Let me go off on that one for just a moment, because that's a juicy one too, and that's goes back into being centered and who you are, what you want to accomplish in life. And before you are seeking a relationship or something intimate and serious, you should really know yourself truly and be able to pursue that and have fun with it, because everybody wants to have fun, male, female, whatever. Everyone wants to be with somebody who can laugh at their own mistakes and not take life so seriously, and have a fun factor in life. So that's kind of, I agree with what you're saying there, and that's my advice is before you even try to get into a relationship, you should already know your mission, your drive in life, and be enjoying yourself. Because if you don't enjoy yourself, how is somebody else going to enjoy time with you?
That's a critical point. You have to love yourself. You have to know your worth. You have to carry that to the table, I feel like. And getting butthurt that, she makes more money, or she does this, or she brings more to the table. Again, it goes back to now the energy's off. Now the polarity's off. Now, if you're confident, full send, own it. I don't care if you're a factory worker, if you work I don't care where you work or how much money you make,
or what your car
you drive.
Yeah,
exactly. Or what clothes you wear even. I mean, if you're taking care of yourself, if you are a man that is centered, she is going to respect that, in my opinion. And if she does it, you're already ready to be able to walk away and mean it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to be her rock. Like you said, everything you said there, because I think it comes down to security. If there's number one word in what it is we have to be able to deliver as a contribution to the relationship, it's security. And as you're saying, you can work in a factory, you can have an older car. There are guys all the time who are studs, you know what I mean? And they're not on paper, shopping for Rolexes every weekend, it's not that. In fact, the biggest tools you run across are guys who think that's the primary drive of value. I got the cool car, I got a cool place, chick should be all over me. You're like, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything. So you got to be able to say, you got to think that you're the man on some level, even if it's, you love comic books. It's kind of dorky, probably a little bit, but whatever. If that's your fucking jam and you are into comic books, you collect them, everything there is about comic books, you go to Comic-Con and that is your happy place. Dude, you got to think
own it.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of awesome. Don't back away from that. Cool. That's your thing. You have nobody does. Nobody knows themselves that well. So most chicks, they see that and they're like, God, I got to get a thing. This guy's kind of cool. I didn't realize, I wish I had a passion like that. Holy shit. Maybe I could learn from this guy and be willing to say, if she's like, comic books are for losers, then be like, well, this wasn't a good match. And watch what that does, stick with it. Don't abandon yourself.
It's crazy. This stuff works.
This is good combo right here, guys.
It really works. And like I said, spend some time in the field. And so I have a lot of live data, and Kevin and I would always after our experience, we'd talk about, okay, well, maybe you could have improved here. Yeah. So we've I'm blessed to have had a friend that I could collaborate with and work on how to be a centered masculine man in the field while also being authentic, right? Because you still have to be yourself. You can't just play a character, you'll be exhausted. Yeah. And so you have to find a way to be yourself, but also have fun, be flirty, and all that other stuff. And yeah, as long as you're bringing that to the table, it doesn't matter what kind of job you have. It doesn't matter, what kind of car you're driving. It's about how you make a person feel. Materialistic stuff, it can get you in the door, but it's never going to
be sustainable.
Yeah. It's just getting you in the door. You still got to work, it's interesting.
I often feel bad for those guys the most because, I live in Hollywood. There are a lot of Ferraris. There are. Those $300,000 cars, McLarens, there's whatever you want. And what are you going to tell? There's nothing to tell. These guys really believe, not all of them. Some guys are real cool dudes. They just like cars. But there are so many guys who they got it because they thought that would be the impression point. They thought that would be the hook. And they have no actual baseline game whatsoever.
You can't buy your personality.
Dude, come on. When you turn that thing off, then you got to talk. Oh, you're screwed. What are you going to talk about? Trading it in, getting another one? That's no. I think even like when you were saying, there is nothing more exhausting than trying to be somebody else and trying to be what you think people want. I think when you were saying too, like the like one compliment a night. I totally agree with that. That's a good baseline. One way to keep that natural, be genuinely curious about the other parts of this person, like actually want to know. So where are you from? Did you go to school? What are you into? What kind of movies do you like? What do you do for work? There are so many questions that you would sound crazy if you pack them all in at once. If you're just looking at, her looks all night, shit, dude, but what? You didn't want to know all this other stuff? Because what guys, number 3, we'll call this number 3.
Okay, here we go.
Hold your own interview. Guys go into talking to girls like they are interviewing for a position of like the unqualified candidate with the hottest girl ever. And they are on the backpedaling end from the very start. You see a girl at the bar.
I've been there. That's a sad place to be.
Yeah. Well, and a little bit is natural. You're like, oh man, this chick, she's doing it for me. Like, wow, I hope she likes me. Sure, you hope. Now, what do you know about her? She's hot. So what? Great. If you've decided that physical looks are important to you, which they are to all of us, then you're going to end up with a hot girl. Cancel that out. Just move on. Just who cares? Now the looks are a common denominator, bar none, gone. Now, before I go worrying what this chick thinks of me, let's go interview her a little bit. Let's go find out who she is. Let's go. And then before you know it, you're doing all the Mr. Perfect things. You walk up and you're like, hey, why don't I ask her about her? There's a topic everybody loves. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. It's all of our favorite topic. So now you're talking about her. She's already having a good time. Now, when she's talking about her, you asked because you wanted to know the answer, because this is going to apply to how you spend your time, whether or not you invest your time in her. So when she's talking about herself, what are you going to do? Listen. What? You're a guy who cares about her and listens to what she has to say? Dude, you're crushing it. And all you've done so far is protect your own interests. That's all you've done. That's it.
Easy button.
And then, dude, come on. It's just kind of it is. It's like a one-stop shop. And then as she tells you things that you have interest in, you respond in real time because you're genuinely interested in the topic. And before you know it, conversation went so great. Yeah, there was a better looking guy who she saw across the room, and that's all she knew about him. But you know what? She had such a good time talking to you. It's been an hour now. Yeah, you know what? Why don't we do this again tomorrow? Why don't we go to grab another drink? Now it's gone great because you were being authentic. Mm-hmm. You were having your own interview. And likewise, wait until you feel like the biggest stud of all time when you have enough knowledge of what and who you're looking for. And it's not rigid. It's not like an absolute list of 1,000 things, make or break. But you have enough idea of what you're looking for. You meet a girl who's hot, and you're like, we chatted for a few minutes. I don't think so. And you're the one to be like, hey, it was really nice chatting with you. I got to do this thing real quick, but have a great rest of the night. Mm-hmm. And you just walked away from a chick who would have given you sweaty palms and probably would have rejected you if you didn't have your half of the interview. If you just walked up there bumbling, probably the same things you had as a lack of commonality would have turned her off about you. And she would have walked away. And then you'd be like, how come I can never get a girl? How come all the hot chicks, I guess I'm not cool. How come there's something wrong with me? No, dude, you you just didn't have your half of the line, your half of the interview, protect your value a little bit. But so it's all kind of linear. I think that's why I'm afraid of having a podcast where I just talk about the fundamentals. You can kind of do it in the night. It's not that hard. It's just finding a variety of individual situations that people get into and how to apply the fundamentals to your specific details. Whether you're at a barbecue, you're at a party, you're at this, your girl says that. Let's talk about your specific variables and bring them back. And as guys like us who are on pods or as a coach, simply by virtue of not being emotionally involved in your situation, I have half the wizardry it takes to give you amazing advice. I'm not emotionally there. You're in the shit. You're in the trenches. I'm watching from up in the box seats, so I can just tell you, go left, duck, run in, you're all set. But you're the one the walls are closing in, you're sweating through your eyes, you can't see a thing, So it's not the most complicated stuff. It's just a matter of, helping guys to see it, I guess.
Well, what I'll say is, first of all, it's been probably one of my favorite podcasts because I love talking about these kind of topics. We do it a lot off mic, so to do it on mic is fantastic. I love the way you broke down the 1, 2, 3 there. That was terrific.
Yeah.
As far as what you're seeing, because you're like you said, you're in the market. You're dealing with these guys coming to you asking for advice. And to piggyback off of point 3 there, listening and running your own interview, I think is so crucial. It is so crucial. And taking those notes, right? Because so many guys are in their head going, am I going to get laid tonight? Is that what's going to happen? And they're not paying attention to what's going on right now. Right? Like you said, you're already outbeating the competition, so to speak, maybe the guy with the Ferrari that looks a little bit better across the room, because you are paying attention, you are showing interest, you are listening, you are taking in this information. And I think that carries so much weight. I mean, just simple fundamentals that will go a long way, right? And then, even going beyond that, right? So let's say the date did go well. Now, what's the follow-up going to look like, right? I'm sure, because a lot of guys want to know. They get home, they text, oh, I had such a good night with you, it was so great, right? Whatever. I think giving that a little bit of breathing room, right? Giving it a day or two to marinate, right? Give her the gift of missing you, right? I think is also a good thing because it creates a little bit of curiosity, because so many women are used to being smothered and hit on, like we've talked about so many times, that I think given a little bit of time for that to breathe also creates so much value. Right. Because an analogy I like to use, which is not to be perceived as disrespectful, is kind of treating women like cats a little bit. Right. When they come to you, you pet them, but you don't want to chase the cat away because it's going to run and hide under a couch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think all those things going from, so now the date went well, you had that first date. Right. Now what? Now what does the guy do after that? Because that's when critical decisions or mistakes are made.
I would give it, for getting into specifics like this, I would say the night ends, you go your separate ways. Give it the night. Don't say anything else, because I love it when she tells you how great of a night she had. That's awesome. That's when you know it was a good night. You knew it was a good night. You enjoyed the night. You're hoping she felt the same way. She gives you that text. The thing is, sometimes guys, when we get too anxious, we're so afraid of things going wrong. We're overly attentive, the smothering. We kind of play both roles. We try to be the masculine and the feminine. If it was a movie, Romeo's reading Romeo's lines and Juliet's, and you've edged her out of her own lines. Let her do some of the girl stuff that's just cute. Let her be the one to send you a text and be like, hey, I had such a great time. Give her a chance to reciprocate. Give her a chance to,
Well, and that feeling too, right? Because anything that's worth it in life actually should be somewhat challenging. And when you go on a date and it went really well and you had so much fun, it's challenging, especially for me. Like, I always wear my emotions on my sleeve. So I want to be like, oh my God, it was such a pleasure meeting you. Like, I think you're so beautiful, blah, 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 and just word vomiting. Like, I want to do that. So it's a challenge to hold that in. But deep down, I know I had fun. I could tell she had fun. And so I'm going to challenge myself with being patient. And and so I agree with Kevin's advice here. And I've done this live action, and it's difficult not reaching out. Like, oh, she's thinking about me. Am I overthinking this? Yes, I am overthinking this. Am I thinking about her? Yes, I am. Is she thinking about me? I want to reach out. No, I'm not going to do it. Like, I've had these battles for hours in my head. And then 7 p.m. the next night, hey, last night was really fun. It was nice to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, she reaches out, and then you have this huge sense of relief. And you're just like, oh man, I was overthinking all that. So I do agree having that little bit of space. And then once she reaches out, just set your next date and just wait till you see each other in person before you can over communicate your wealth out. If you start over communicating, you're on the verge of getting in the kitchen, putting on an apron, and baking a whole ass cake for this girl. And we don't want to do that.
She doesn't want 7 slices.
Yeah. Well, also, you know what? Yeah, like let people earn their next course. If we stay with like the restaurant kind of thing, you don't serve all 7 courses at once. See if they like the appetizer. See if they like it. If they don't tell you how good it was, well, maybe you don't need to bake this person an entree. We're not even near the cake. You know what I mean? Like just because you want.
We're not even close to dessert.
Yeah. I'm not even sure you're a fan yet, and I want to know if you're a fan. Like I don't know I don't know what your Yelp review would look like yet, or if you'd even bother to give one. I want to know your Yelp review. I want you to be telling me, in a balanced way, because these compliments, like we're talking about, they're natural. We want to give them. We're nice guys. You look great. Oh my God, that was a funny joke. Oh, that's so cool. I'm going to try that place you just told me. I'll go. You're being forward with your appreciation. Let it happen. Need it to not need, but like what kind of, like needs a funny word, but like require for your own self the reciprocation, because it's not going to be fun if someone's with you and they don't say anything and they're not
so there's been an affirmation, and I don't mean to cut you, and this just happens on Zoom. It always happens. But there's an affirmation I started telling myself when I was in my weak moments, and it was that women pursue me, I know my worth. Women pursue me, I know my worth. And I would just start repeating that to myself, and I would be like, okay, like where are instances that women have pursued me? Okay, I can see those and those times, and what do I mean? I know my worth. Like, okay, well, I'm not going to chase somebody and text somebody 3 times in 24 hours if they haven't replied to me once. Like I know my worth better than that. I'm sharing my time with this person, and they're not even communicating back with me. So why continue communicating? Like, I hate to call it a game, but to a certain extent, like some of this stuff that's worked successfully for me has actually been counterintuitive on what my emotions are telling me I need to do. And even though she wants to understand my emotions, and in time, when it's appropriate, it will happen. But when it's early on and we're all in the love rush, you do have to kind of play this game of slowly revealing yourself. You can't just put it all out there, so it's interesting. It's delicate, and to even find the right person in the first place that you even want to, like, I could go on.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a deep topic. We can keep going, of course, but going back to the original fundamentals of how we started this conversation is knowing our worth, having our mission, drive, purpose, and doing all those things. And look, at the end of the day, the greatest gift you can give someone is the gift of your time. And I think that the more we can remind ourselves of that, like who we choose to spend our time with also adds value to that. I am making time for this person, because we're all busy. You're doing comedy. We're podcasters. We are making time for these individuals. That speaks volume, right? Greatest gift you can give someone is a gift of your time, for sure. And, to encapsulate all that into it, just having that mindset going in, I think, again, I don't do coaching, Paul. This is more your wheelhouse. But I feel like for me, all I can speak on is my experiences, because I was a major beta in my early 20s, and I handled women's relationships poorly, and I over pursued and was always getting angry and just not being centered. Like, who would be attracted to that? Like, I totally learned it the hard way.
You weren't having fun.
Well, at some point, I do want to come back to the word game, because I have something really fun for that. But to tell what you were just saying with the idea of feeling beta, like I actually think alpha is a beta word, because as we were saying in the beginning, we've all been both. And like, if you go around like thinking you're an alpha, you're a freshman. You know what I mean? Like it's not like an alpha wouldn't call himself an alpha. He may be seen as an alpha by someone who's trying to understand what alpha lifestyle is, but you don't. It's like something you wouldn't say about yourself because it's just a lifestyle that you kind of get into a rhythm where, yeah, you start just like you were saying. You have a podcast, you got your own thing going, you've got your own life. That's where you start to protect the time because you say to yourself, well, why would I be valuable? And I kind of break it down into fives with my clients. I do 3 sets of fives. I do what are the 5 things that you're terrified someone's going to learn about you in a relationship that you think horrible aspects that you bring and scare you? What are 5 things that are good that you think that you bring to a relationship? And then what are 5 just badass stories about you? Like what are 5 marketing kick-ass, this is who I am, this is what I look like shining. And we've got to get those out of the way because it helps you to understand, something like, well, yeah, you got a podcast. Your podcast takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to create guests, create episodes, edit, set up the studio, all these things. Now you also have to sleep. You also have to have a day job, probably. If you don't already, kick ass. But there's so much in your day when you really think about it that the idea that you're gonna create a gap in that busy schedule for one person, because think about it, one of the biggest things guys do is they pounce to like, hey, they slip in that girlfriend term and it was a little too early and she books out, see you later, because why are you being so jumpy? They want to like make a one-on-one. They want to make it exclusive. No, go back to what you were saying. I have such a busy schedule. I have so much going on. If I'm going to cut time out, it's got to be for someone I like. It's got to be for someone cool. It's got to, this isn't just because you look good in a skirt. Like, who gives a shit? Whatever. I don't, you know what I mean? I'd rather work on the next episode of the pod and where we could go next. And you want to feel like you're tearing yourself away from a busy life to make a small opportunity to meet somebody new. And then they get that vibe like, wow, like this guy was like coming off from so much cool shit when he walked in the door and, he was very present right now, but I could tell he's got other things to go on. Who is this guy? This guy's the man. This guy, and if you can feel that, even because there are guys who do it, there are guys who have cool stuff going on in their lives, but they abandon that mindset because they feel this need for a cool girl. And then they've just thrown their own whole life out the window as far as their perception of self-value. And it's like, no, I'll cancel. Yeah, we don't have to do an episode today. I'll cancel it for you. You just want to talk on the phone for 10 minutes? Exactly.
Jeez.
Exactly.
No.
But there are guys, you know what I'm talking about. The guy, he'll cancel.
Yeah, no, I've been that dude. I've been that dude, such a softy Pop-Tart Jello motherfucker. And dude, it doesn't work. No one is going to respect you if you don't respect your own schedule. And even look, for all the dudes out there, like maybe you do have all this time that you could give a woman and you would love to just have her fill in all that time. Like she is going to be more attracted if you're a busy man and you have to make time for her. So start picking up some new hobbies. Even if you don't have shit going on, act like you do until you do have it going on, because exactly.
Go pick up a pickup basketball league or something. Just there's got to be one day that you're like, you know what, Thursday doesn't work for me. How about Saturday? Because just it comes back to that no. There have to be a few no's. It's fun to be a yes man. Be like, hey, can we go here? Yeah. Can we go on that? Yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm the man. The world is ours, but it can't all be yeses. It's got to be some no's too. Of like, well, can we go there? And then I want to punch you in the balls while we eat dinner. No, what? No, we can't do that. And then she's like, oh, cool. I didn't want to punch you in the balls. I was just hoping you wouldn't let me. Because a lot of guys will let me punch you in the balls.
So I'm gonna ask it in a way. I'm gonna ask it in a way that relates. Okay. So do you feel like the interview process ever stops in a relationship?
All right, so this is going to tie back to what I was saying about when you use the word game, because
Did that work?
Yeah. This is going to come right back. So game sounds cheap. Game sounds manipulative. It sounds very childish. But actually, what I like to compare it to a specific game, which is tennis. See, tennis is a cool game. Check this out. This is kind of fun. Tennis is the only game I'm aware of where you can play against your partner and with your partner. When it's one-on-one, you and your partner playing against each other. But then later on, you can be on the same team and play doubles against others. So I'm not talking about key parties and swingers and shit. What I'm saying is, though, in regard to does the interview ever end? No, because when you play tennis with each other, it's great practice. And you're understanding each other's rhythm. And, someone gives you kind of a soft one. You don't have to spike it in their face to show them that you're good, because that's just being a jerk. You know what I mean? But if they can come in and throw you a little bit of heat to see if you can handle it, then you can. Then you can put it right back. And then you learn to get each other's rhythm and pace to know that you're both good players. You're both good. You're a good match. If you win every single time, this probably isn't a good match for you. If she wins every single time, you're not ready for her. So this way here, you can learn to find each other's game, and you'll both get better the more you play, which is every single day. You're it's not like antagonistic, but there is a back and forth, paddle. There's banter, there's fun. But then as you become stronger players together, then you go out and you face the world. And you want to be able to know, you bring this girl to a party, you have your back. Can she handle her own? Like when she goes off to work, when she goes off to this and that, is she a strong player in the world? Are you excited to have her back? It's an interesting thing, because the interview never really ends, and that's where some of the communication comes in. You start to slack off, you start to slouch. She's got to be able to tell you, dude, what are you doing? It's not the end of the world, but you okay? You got to pick it up, and you got to be able to say to her, hey, like you're slacking a little, and that's the honesty. That's the honesty of looking out for each other. Because I think the world is insane. We live in a crazy world. It's absolute definition of insanity. And if you go through life alone, you will become insane. And so part of what picking a partner is finding someone who you believe isn't just attractive, but they're sane. They have a real brain, and they have a great sense of reality, right and wrong, truth and lies. And you pick them to help you stay sane as well. That's a huge part of it. You got to pick someone who can let you know when you're being a little nuts and bring you back into track. And that way there you can both live happily ever after. You try to do it on your own or with someone who's afraid to tell you so, you're going to lose your mind. Become a wacko,
Yeah, that's kind of a good breakdown, because we've kind of covered okay, here's the dating process, going through the first date, going through the second date, having that first hookup. Now we're kind of moving into how has this become sustainable? Like Art asked, does the interview process never end? I guess the way I was kind of picturing it was, because women are always testing, right? They're always going to test to see how you're going to react to certain situations. Am I going to move him from his center? Is this the man that is going to be my rock, my immovable mountain? And they're going to test, and that happens for years and years and years. 20 years into a marriage, it's going to happen, right? So it's about that consistency. And I think now, granted, those are some untreaded waters for me. I haven't really gotten that far into relationships in my life, so I can't really speak to that. But I would imagine that everything that we've touched upon and keeping that mindset, right, and staying grounded and staying focused is going to carry through and through all the way, full send.
I can't agree more. And I think that's a great transition point, because there are guys who, I always reference that there's in any town, USA, you go in there on a weeknight, there's a guy at the bar crying into his beer, talking about how that ice cold devil woman took his whole world, and she's got his house, she's got everything, and she's the devil incarnate. And she, maybe she is, but also women do quote unquote attack men to test. It's not an actual attack. It's not a vicious attack. It's seeing if you can handle a little bit of weather. Can you do it? You know what I mean? Like, if we bring security, if you were hiring a personal security team, you'd want to see some tape of them in action. You'd want to test the waters, make sure that they can actually do it, not just say so. So, I think sometimes chicks will do stuff that's a little bit playful and a little bit out of curiosity. And it may come off as an attack. And if you're like, oh my God, why would you do that? I feel like I really need to tell you that I feel like that was very hurtful. And you're like, she's like, oh, gross. That's why I did it. But if she did it and you're like, oh yeah, you want to play? You think you're tough, huh? Then she's gonna be like, no, just kidding. I just want to make sure you were. I just wanted to make sure you were. Hey, why don't we go do that?
And I can sense that energy from you, but see, that's the thing is you have to like, because it does take practice being playful and still being authentic, because relationships are supposed to be fun. Like you said, life is so crazy. Like this shit show of a rock that we're living on, like it's a wild planet, and I feel blessed for my life. I'm just gonna say I'm fortunate, and I know it, and I'm thankful. But yeah, they're gonna test, and you should test back, and it should just be fun. Like, yeah, there's gonna be serious things that you're gonna have to overcome together, and there's gonna be some serious subjects that come up. But the more fun you can have with it, the better life will be in overall. And that even just to ourselves outside of relationships, like, I like to throw out a weekly challenge. And my challenge this week to all the listeners and viewers is try to find fun in something that normally grinds your gears a little bit. Like, let's say traffic just fucking bothers you, like most of us. Just maybe laugh at it once this week. Have some fun with your frustrations. Like we don't have to take it all so seriously all the time. Like we can just have fun with it and like laugh about the mistake or laugh about, the issue that we had to clean up, even though it wasn't our fault. Like, and if you can successfully do that daily, weekly, whatever it is, you will create a happier life for yourself where you don't take everything so seriously, and the mistakes are going to keep coming, and when they happen, it doesn't move you, it doesn't knock you off your center. So that's the challenge for this week.
I like that. Yeah I got enough points of frustration to choose from. Sure, one of those could use a little fun valve of release. Yeah, all right, I will take that challenge, sir.
I always like to tell folks, I always blame it on me being from New England, because I've struggled with anger issues my whole life. Talked about a lot on this podcast. I've gotten a lot better at it as I'm in my mid 30s. But like Paul, that like we get a little fired up. Like us New Hampshire guys, us New England guys, we're like, man, it's just a part of who we are. We get fired up.
Dude, honestly, I'm looking at ways to build that into my stand-up, because everybody always with stand-up, they're always like, tell us about you. And people want to connect with their comics. That's how you want to, that's what drives you to go somewhere and see them live. And yeah, dude, like anger management is one of those things that, like, man, I don't know how many times guys like us have had to hear it in our lives before we're like, man, I guess I've heard that a few times now. Like, because at first you're like, fuck that shit. You just don't understand where I'm coming from, man. You weren't in my shoes. You don't get, of course I'm pissed off. You know what I mean? Anybody would be. And then, okay, sure. That was once. And then this was twice. And then years later, it's like, dude, I hear that shit like every 6 months or something. I should take a look at that. Like, it's real. Cause I don't know, like, yeah, the New England, maybe because we go through hard winters and, we get pressed up against the cold and, dry and all that shit. I don't know, but yeah, like you got to find ways to manage it. You have to. And, I think sometimes, that's something that's come up in my relationship with Chelsea. Like there was a time when we moved to LA, dude, oh my God, it was like the move was hard. Everything was hard. Finances were hard. My mom passed away. Like everything. I had gained weight, dude, by like on some Job level. You know what I mean? Like some real shit. And I was getting to the point where like I wanted to get out of the car in traffic a lot. Like I did. I was like, let's. I don't know. I got nothing else to do. Let's just fight a stranger right now. Let's just do it. And she had to tell me like, hey man, really, like, if we are gonna continue, this is something you got to be willing to work on. And I had to be like, well, I think she's got a point. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, like this isn't just normal. I gotta, you gotta have that threshold, because, dude, like I feel like I've been in a great mood. Not a great mood. I've had some ups and downs, but I haven't been like snapping off on people in a while. And
That's good,
yesterday
man.
was, yeah, well, but I'll balance that. Yesterday these guys came to the door. It was 4th of July. I live in an apartment complex, with like an internal courtyard. Like you're not really supposed to be in here, and if you're not invited, whatever. And these door-to-door salesmen, I don't know, they just seem scamish. They look so sketchy and dicey. And we had spent an hour making like breakfast around noon. It was a holiday day off. I literally had my plate of breakfast in my hand. I'm so excited to go eat it. Just knock the door, and there's these two sketchy fucks at my door. And as soon as I see it, I'm like, nah. And then I'm like, open the door back up. I was like, you know what? You guys got to get out of here. You can't be here. Like, come on, this building's quiet. Everyone's trying to have their holiday. Get the hell out. And the guy started giving me lip. And I was like, I'll fucking crush you both. You know what I mean? Like, it turned into this it was this whole affair. And like, I'm losing my mind. Probably more than I should have. I've done door-to-door sales. It's not, you know what I mean? I get it. Like, I was a little hungover. My coffee was kind of strong, and I was trying to have some peace, and I just hadn't flared up at anyone in a long time. And it just I definitely overreacted. Definitely. Chelsea turns to me after, and she's like, they know where we live. And I'm like, son of a I should have showed that.
Well, I mean, at least
like
you're able to look at it though. Like that's the thing is like, how many times are we willing, or how many times do we unknowingly make the same mistake and don't actually reflect on where we could have improved? So that's the silver lining to the story you said. But yeah, bro, they got your address. You can't be lipping off to people like that, man. What are you thinking, Paul?
I just saw like the me and them, because the dude was like happy 4th with like a fuck you kind of way. And I was, that's what I wasn't having. I was like, no, you're not going to do that to me in my house.
Oh, happy 4th to me? No, happy 4th to you.
To you, motherfucker.
Wishing you a happy Independence Day.
Yeah, guess what? You know what? I got this Louisville. I'll offer it as a gift. Yeah, like it's, you know what I mean? It starts little. It's just, and then before you know it, it's just red. And Chelsea's talking about how she's read online about how most men who are in prison for violent crimes, it was a moment of passion. They didn't plan it earlier that day. It was not premeditated. Just a couple things went wrong in a bar, on a sidewalk. And I was like, yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why I'm taking
degree.
a break from coffee. I'm taking, like I realized the coffee's getting me too wound up. Probably not my friend right now. Sometimes, even though a lot of people, it sounds kind of wimpy to say, I got to quit coffee like it's heroin or something. But no, coffee's not my friend. It gets me too able to snap off over things I shouldn't. So, like you say, you got to reflect on things a little, and like,
I hear you there, brother. I've been off coffee for a minute, and I'm a Dunkin' guy. We're New England guys. Dunkin', bro. But I haven't been doing it. I haven't been drinking it. It's a gateway, and it's a gateway to anger is what it is. And so I put it down. I haven't been doing it. I haven't been doing coffee. The uppers just don't treat me real good in general, across the board, all substances, any uppers. So I haven't been doing the Dunkin', which is tough because I grew up on that shit. That's our New England roots.
Yeah.
That's the New England juice,
Dude,
but man, I feel better without it.
To hear you say that. I appreciate you saying that. It makes me feel good because, like, you
guys are in this together now.
We're in this together.
For real,
You guys have a pod packed right now.
Keep the caffeine out. Keep the uppers. You're leading the way. How do you know how long it's been roughly since you've had coffee?
I mean, I've had a couple sips here and there. Like I've had a relapse with a couple sips, but I'm not making carafes. I've been carafe free for about 13 months.
Good for you. I like it.
Man. Yeah, feeling pretty good.
I had quit. We went on vacation a little while back, and I had stopped before we went on vacation. And I was enjoying it. I was like, cool, soon I'll whiten my teeth as I need to do. Like I don't want to, I whitened my teeth a year ago. They look great, but I drank coffee and I was like, look like, homeless guy. And so I said, all right, I'm almost consistent enough of not drinking coffee that I can whiten them again and feel like a whole person. And then we went on vacation. When you're on vacation, coffee's nice because you're going to have a busy day. You're going to be on the run. That energy's coming out. You're walking 20 miles around a city or something. Sure, coffee can fit when you have the outlet. But for me, if I'm going to drink coffee and then just like sit down at home and work at the computer, I'm like, where does this go? So I think it is just time to put the coffee maker away and follow your lead. 13 months, man. That's solid.
Yeah, 13 months off the carafe. Yeah. I mean, look, it's doable. It's doable. And I'm not doing decaf. I don't do any of that. It's all
no. Come on. Because you know what? Like, I thought for a while that I was having like some real like anxiety stuff, like from the coffee. It was like sending me, I was like, man, this coffee. And then I stopped the coffee and I was like, I think I'm actually just revved a little high myself. I might have to actually not blame the coffee, and just get a little more organized in what I have going on. Because, you can blame it on the coffee and be like, oh, yeah, it makes me feel nuts. Then you realize, well, wait, I feel weird in my skin from 9 till 12 every day. I'm losing 3 hours of the middle of the day every day. And I think it's because coffee, no, I got to look at my schedule. I got to see, am I doing things right?
It's one of those things where when you are really paying attention to your own feelings and emotions and thought process, then you start to identify what's really what's a priority in your life. And just like how a horrible situation takes time to create, it takes time to also create the perfect version of yourself. And so whenever you are working on these changes, I always, through my experience, have found success in doing it gradually, doing it at my own pace. No like definitive, it has to be done by this time. Like, give yourself a break. If you have whatever substance that you're working on getting rid of, then that's okay. Just don't do it again the next day. So those are kind of my rules with it. And it's helped me. And you're going to know when you're ready to fully be like, I don't need that anymore. Because eventually, once you are practicing these things and you're being diligent and paying attention to it, then eventually you get to a point where it's like, okay, I've been paying attention to this for over a year and my mentality's shifted and now I don't need it anymore. So for my advice, getting off anything, that is what's worked best for me is my piece of nugget of information there. And we've covered a lot of nuggets of information. Paul, I love talking to you, man. I know that this could be a 4 or 5 hour podcast. We could go all day.
This could be a Rogan experience.
But yeah, we're super excited for what you're doing with comedy, getting out there, starting up the podcast. Your Instagram's awesome too. So where's all the places people can get in touch with you?
So Instagram is the easiest. Paul Roseberry comedian. It's Roseberry. Roseberry sounds kind of like a blueberry. A lot of people want to add an N and I don't know, switch it up, which would make me Jewish, and I might be. I'm not sure though. Gotta look at anyway. Paul Roseberry comedian on Instagram or Paul at paulroseberry.com. My website, paulroseberry.com. You can reach me there. Anywhere. Facebook, Paul Roseberry. I'm always down to chat. Anyone, if anybody has dating questions, if you have scenarios that you'd love to throw out, I answer anonymously. Obviously, it would never be, understood that it was you who reached out, but I look for those all the time. I'm excited to get them. I'll answer them on the pod, and I'll give you the best advice I can come up with. And if I don't have the right advice the moment I read it, I'll chew on it a few days. I won't just put it out right away. I want it to be the right advice. So they can reach me that way. And if they, looking for comedy, I'm on the road these days and traveling. So let me know what city you want to see me in, and I'll get over there. I just like to bring some fun anywhere I can.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, the biggest question I have for you is when you come into Denver, Colorado.
Dude, let's put this together. I'm not kidding.
I'm serious. What? You guys, let's do Comedy Works, bro.
Dude, you guys made that offer and I loved it. And I don't think I was quite ready. I was like, shit, am I really ready for the road yet? I think I can. but I wasn't sure. And now that I've done it, yeah, now I am. So let's figure this out. Let me know when it's good for you guys, and I'll coordinate. Comedy Works. Let's find a venue, and
well, even if we're booked that week for the pod, we'll create an extra day to record with you. So that way you could jump in here, sit across the table from us on this couch right over here, and come have a good time with us, man. So we'll put an extra one on the schedule for that week for you, man. We'll move some stuff around.
Dude, you guys are awesome.
We're not going to give you the whole cake though, okay?
No,
for sure, man.
I won't either.
That's a great analogy. It is. Stop over communicating your emotions.
I mean, that's definitely a good takeaway.
God damn it. I'm telling that to myself. It's a self-affirmation. Trust me.
Look, we all got to stay buttoned up. We got to stay buttoned up.
Just a couple bites. Let them digest.
Yeah. Let them marinate.
For more. You'll know when they want more. They'll tell you they want more. And that's a good feeling. Right. That's a good feeling. Right.
Because if they're taking those leftover cake slices home, he fed them too much cake.
And when they reach out to you before you even had a chance to reach out to them, and they say, "Hey, so what are you doing? I know what you're doing. You want more cake," and I love it. That's right. It's nice to be wanted. It's nice to be accepted. It's also nice to be wanted, and that's
of course. And to be patient. Yeah. And I'm going to reiterate this because I have battled with it. But when you resist the urge to throw up your emotions all over them all day long, and you just hold it back, and then they finally reach out, that feeling feels amazing. It does. So just to reiterate that.
And not to get into a whole other thing that we can do another time, but one thing that is of huge importance, a lot of guys, dude, when we're pumped about it, Jake, we're just like, we'll hear our friends telling us to pump the brakes, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. We don't listen. Why? Because we're like, no, man, I just want to tell her how I really feel. Well, here's the problem. You don't know how you really feel. You think you do. You don't. You have no idea how you really feel. You know how bad you want her, and you hope that if you give like the barest, most deepest, gushing "I love you," then like she'll be like, "Oh my God, no." Wrong. Slow down. Take a real good look at where you stand. Understand where she fits into your life and in what proportion. And then you don't have to be this sniveling guy who bared it all.
Kevin's laughing over here. He's laughing over here because there was at one point where he was the guy telling me, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, Arthur. And I was like, no, bro, no, you don't know. You don't know what's going on. This is how I'm playing this. And I over pursued the fuck out of that woman, and I don't even talk to her anymore.
Well, and again, like you said in the beginning, Paul, I think every guy that you coach, everyone has to fail to succeed. Like you said, we've all fucked up at it one time or another. And I guess I would say, of course, I'm super excited to listen to your podcast coming up because I love listening to dating advice and stuff like that, and listening to different opinions and what guys are going through. And I guess the biggest advice I would give to end this show with some dating advice that I would give is, definitely take it easy, slow your roll, and when she reaches out, right, set definite plans to have some cake.
Yeah, and also don't forget the short game. Sometimes you don't have to text her to set another date. You can just tell her that you saw, a fat guy slip on the ice outside your office and he dropped his donut. Just little goofy shit, just something dumb, just whatever. And he didn't have to be fat, whatever. That was messed up, but just something stupid that you saw, just something ridiculous, like someone stapled their thumb or something, just some goofy shit that is, because when you start really spending time with somebody, it's not all going to be, where are we going to dinner tonight? It's going to be like, hey, I just saw this thing on Instagram and, I heard from my friend this funny story. It's chatter. It's chit chat. So you can have a little bit of it and then don't make a plan at the end of it. Be like, hey, this guy in my office just did this thing. It was pretty funny. And then she laughs and you're like, all right, I got to run. Talk soon.
Yep. Absolutely.
Busy guy. We'll catch up later.
Yep.
Yeah. Short game. You gotta have some short game. You know what I mean? It's like when Happy Gilmore learned to putt.
with a hockey stick.
With a hockey stick. See,
great movie.
You don't
great
need a
movie
Ferrari,
reference.
man. You don't need a
Ferrari. Yeah, you can use a hockey stick. It doesn't matter the size of the submarine. It's how you submerge it.
It's not the size of the submarine. It's how you navigate the waters and avoid the deep pressure is where I'll go with that one.
Don't go to the Titanic. Don't go to the Titanic.
Everybody tuning in. Yeah. Paul, we love chatting with you, man. You always put a smile on our faces. It's great. Everybody, we're going to leave all of his stuff in the show notes below. So check that out. And we're really excited to catch up with you again, man. We will have you back as another repeat guest. Hopefully in studio. Yeah, no, in studio this time.
We're doing that.
And listeners out there in the world, viewers, please be good to yourselves.
You know you deserve it. Paul, thanks again for being here, brother, man. It's always fun to talk to fellow New Hampshireans. And man, look forward to talking with you soon, brother.
You too, man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.